Thank you so much for allowing us to be here. I'm here with a group of 11 right now. We've got another one that's landing here in Africa in a few minutes as well. Again, my name is Kyle Wilson. I am the student pastor at University Baptist Church, or UBC as we call it, in Houston. We are eternally grateful for Norwegian Settlers Church. And so this is my personal 10th year of having this incredible blessing of being able to come to South Africa. My wife was raised in Zimbabwe for about 7 years. I know you've got that other Zimbabwean, where's the Trevor? You want to get rid of him, shoot him back. But my wife you would want to keep. So she has a natural love for Africa and the people of Africa as well. And it is an amazing blessing. So I know that one of the things that we do as humanity, as humans, is we get into the forest and we surround ourselves with trees, this beautiful forest, and we start looking for the imperfections in the trees. And we find the knot holes, and we find the tree that's not straight, just kind of leaning a little, or the one that's a little brown, and we see that. And those are the things that stand out to us. And so I want to tell you from a perspective of somebody that is a world away and is also involved in the life of Norwegian Settlers Church. What you do as a church and what you do as Genesis is absolutely incredible. You need to hear that. You need to hear that though you as the people of the church see the holes and you see the dead tree and you see the weird one and you see the odd bunny rabbit running through and you look at the different numbers of animals and you think that, oh, well, this is off. It's not right. Your forest and the trees of your forest are a beautiful, beautiful thing that has blessed tons of people, even from half a world away. And so we have now had this blessing over 10 years to bring about 120 students to South Africa because of Norwegian Settlers Church. And so those kids have had this rich, incredible experience that have this affinity and love for Africa because of you guys. And so you need to hear that what you do, remember, is so incredibly important, not just for Port Shepstone, but for Houston, Texas. And y'all have impact on our lives. And so this weekend we had the Epic Camp. And there's one thing I want to say real fast. As a youth minister, I know the work that is put into these things. And so you have two incredible guys that are giving their lives to this. And so Lowendiso, where's Lowendiso at? Is he in here right now? Or is he skipping church this morning? Is he back there? He's in the back. And Chad, guys, y'all need to tell these guys how much you love them. They do incredible work, and they give incredible amounts of time and passion, and so many other workers that are in your student ministries. Man, they give it all. And so I just want to encourage you to love them and love them well and thank them as you go out today for what they do for the church. And so, all right, well, let's jump into it. We're going to be in Romans chapter 8 this morning. So if you'd like to open your Bible, you're more than welcome to. We're going to have most of it here on the screen. I've thrown together a whole bunch of slides, but we're going to centralize ourselves in Romans chapter 8. Then we're going to jump around just a little bit and kind of come back to this idea. So this idea that we're looking at this morning is that God has called us to die to our own selfishness. He's called us to die to our own wants and our own desires and our own passions for the things around us, because we as humans get so focused on our own little piece of the world, don't we? John 10:10, it calls us to something different. So we all have this desire, and we have pastors, and we have preachers, and we have self-help sections of books, and we have people all over the world that have stood and tell you that this is the best possible way for you to live. If you want to be happy in life, you do 1, 2, and 3. Or if you want to be happy in life, you take this pill. Or if you want to be happy in life, you have to make this much money, and you have to buy this house, or you have to have these clothes, or you have to have this and this, or you have to do this. Jesus said it differently. And John 10:10 tells us that the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that you may have life. If you have an NIV version Bible, it says, and have it to the full. The New American Standard Bible says, and this is what I love, have it abundantly. So it tells us, it describes for us, it lays it out for us that the enemy, that Satan and the things and the ways of this world have come so that they may take for themselves what they want. They have come so that they may destroy, they may steal from you. But Christ has come. He has given you his way so that you may have life to the fullest. And so our natural logical progression and understanding is that the best possible life that we can have in this world is that we have the life of the way of Jesus. And the best possible way for us to live is for us to live in the way that Christ has called us to live. And it's not just out of some fortune cookie spirituality. It is not, oh, you must, this magicianal type stuff. It is merely out of, God has said, here's the way things work. I've constructed them and built them, and I want you to live the best possible life. And that best possible life resides within these boundaries. When you live within these boundaries of the way Christ has taught us to, you will have a much better life. Things like money, things like marriage and love and family and rest and food and wine and work. If you go to the next slide for me. God has given us in his word great direction in how to handle all of these things. And not just these things, 1,000 other things. And a deeper root on almost everything in our world. And he has said, if you will take my teachings and you will go about it this way, your life will be far better than if you do it on your own power and your own strength and your own desire. And if you do it here within this box of the way Jesus has said to do it and the way God has said to do it, then it is so healthy and wonderful and beautiful. But if we start kind of letting those things flow out a little bit, we let our marriage, most of it is kind of godly, but there's parts that we're not following the way God has it. We're not living our family. We're not treating our family the way we should. We're not handling our money the way God has called us to do. We're being selfish, or we're using it for the wrong things, or we're just collecting it all and hoarding it, or it's become the number one thing in our life. Wine and drink, or our work. And so maybe there's a few things in there you're like, I'm really good on these. I'm really good with work. I have a real good boundary of work, but love and what I look at on the internet, that's kind of gotten a little bit out of the box of the way God has called me to. When we start letting those things float out more, things start going askew. And the best possible way to live starts getting harder to control. And they keep floating out. And sooner or later, all these things that we have worked to keep into the best possible way to life, the way of Jesus, we kind of lose hold of. And they start floating out. and we just give up. But here's the truth. We're looking, when we're finding these things, when we're manipulating these things we want to, part of it's because we want to find a freedom. We want to do things our own way. We want to do things the way we want to. And so because of that, we try to take over. And we try to do it differently. And we go, you know what, I'm gonna handle my money differently. You know what, I'm gonna handle my marriage differently than the way God told me to. And when we do that, boy, it floats out and it impacts us. And we think we have freedom because we have freedom to handle it the way we want. But the truth is that freedom only truly comes when you willingly let go of it. When you willingly let go of control of those things like your money and your family. And you go, God, I'm going to do these the way that you've called me to. There is a freedom in letting go of that you will only understand when you willingly say, God, I cannot control this. And man, that takes a lot of work, doesn't it? Let me ask you this. How many of you walked in this morning and you went, man, there's a whole bunch of different people here, and somebody was sitting in your seat? Yeah, somebody was sitting in your seat. Yeah, who lost their seat this morning? Yeah, go ahead and raise your hand. Be proud of it. Yeah. How many of you asked somebody to move out of your seat? Yeah, I'm going to tell you something. If you want that to be your seat, we will gladly sell it to you for about 15,000 Rand. You can stick your name on there. We'll mark it in a Sharpie, and at that point, it's always your seat. That is our control nature, isn't it? Our control nature says, that's mine. How dare you come and be in the place that I sit every single week? You got to let go. And it's hard to let go sometimes because we go, this is not normal. This is out of the way it's supposed to be. You see, the world has told you, has sold us a lie. The world has told us when you do things the way you want to, you're going to have the most freedom. You're going to do it. It's going to be great. But the truth and the reality is when we do it God's way, when we do it works out so much better in the end. We live in this world of unparalleled selfishness. I don't know that there is a time in history, I don't know that there's a time or a place where our first point that we understand today is that it is unparalleled in the history of the world, the amount of selfishness that today's world and generation loves. Hit that next slide for me. Have you seen it? You've seen it too. So we as believers, we must die to our own selfishness. That freedom that we so want to control, we have to let go of. And we have to die to our own selfishness and our own selfish wants and desires. This world has so much selfishness that it has just spewed it all over the place, and it has begun to saturate into the church as well. The church has, whether we like it or not, we want to say within these walls everything is golden and wonderful and beautiful. It's not that way. It is the idea of consumerism, or the things that I want it the way that I want it. I want my chair. I want my music. I want my color. I want my kids handled this way. And I want to sing these songs. And I want Trevor to only preach 7 minutes every Sunday. Right? He told me I have an hour, so we're good. Not really. I'm just kidding. Man, we as believers, we have to approach that differently. We have to look at that unparalleled selfishness of the world and say, I have to do this completely differently. You don't believe that the world is selfish? Look at this. I love these stories. Let me read that for you real fast. Fact. More people die from selfies than shark attacks. More people died this year taking a selfie and doing something stupid while taking a selfie, then the shark attacks. We're in South Africa. There's a lot of sharks around here. We have crocodiles where I'm from. We stay away from them. You people go diving with them, Jenna. It's really, really dumb. Don't believe me? Here we go. Next slide. Man trying to take selfie dies after being mauled by bear. I'm not kidding you. I watched this video. He walks up to the bear. The bear's just sitting there eating a salmon that he had just caught. Real quick lesson. Don't approach a bear while he's eating lunch. It's not smart. And he tries to take a selfie with the bear. I'm like, well, things happen. If you're going to approach a bear with a salmon, kind of brought it on yourself, bro. Man hit by train in quest for perfect selfie. He didn't die. He just had major bodily injuries, But yeah, okay. This one is my favorite right here. It's hard to read, but I'll read it to you really quick. It's accidental explosion. So essentially the story is that there's 2 Russian soldiers, and they were taking a picture with a live grenade, and it went off. Duh. My favorite part of it, there's 2 lines at the bottom of it. You can't read it real well. But it says, only the phone and the picture remained. You think? It's a grenade. And then after that, it tells us that the Russian government had such an issue with people dying or being hurt while taking selfies that they had to start a national campaign of encouraging people to be careful while taking selfies. If this is not evidence of the self-nature, the selfish nature of our world, I'm going to do everything to take a picture of me and post it out to the world. And I'm going to get the most extreme one. And there's these pictures of these people standing on the top of buildings like a little pole. And I'm just like, if you go down, there's nobody helping you. We are so obsessed with ourselves and our individualities and our own control of all of these things that it has pushed us to the point that these people would do extreme things that they would accidentally lose their lives for the seeking after the perfect picture. And man, is that a picture of us as a people. Romans chapter 8 calls us to something a little different. It calls us to live with our focus not on ourselves or our things, but on the things of God. Verse 5, those who live according to the flesh have their mind set on what the flesh desires. But those who live in accordance with the Spirit have their mind set on what the Spirit desires. This is the natural working of humanity. This is the writer of Romans saying, this is not some fortune cookie, voodoo-y, those who say according to the flesh have their minds. This is just going, those who set their minds on the things of this world and the flesh and the desires, that's what they're going to seek after. Those that set their minds on the things of heaven, those are the things that they're going to seek after. It's not complicated. It's fairly realistic. It works itself out in the book of Mark, in Mark chapter 10. You don't have to turn there. I'll tell you 2 stories really quick. The first one is of a rich young ruler, a guy who has lots of stuff. He comes to Jesus and he says, Jesus, what is it going to take for me to get into heaven? And Jesus says, don't kill, don't steal, don't destroy, you keep the 10 commandments, you do what the top 10 have told you, bam, you're good. And he says, all right, all of those I've done. I haven't killed anybody, I honor my parents and my mother, I do all those, the top 10, so I'm in, right? And Jesus says, hold on just a second. It's hard for a rich man to get into heaven. not because he has wealth, but because of where his focus is. And he says, go and sell everything you have, and then come follow me. And then we'll talk about what it means for you to get into heaven. And the rich young ruler was so focused on his things and his riches and the things that he has that he couldn't die to it. He had to seek after it. The second story in the book of Mark, in chapter 10, is the story of James and John. I don't know if you can see this as well as I can. I have two sons. I have 4 kids back home and 2 sons, and I can see this so very well. And it's the story of James and John, and they say, Jesus, we want you to do whatever it is we ask of you right now. And Jesus is like, okay, what do you ask of me? It's that good old lesson, when you look at somebody and go, hey, I'm going to ask you a question. I just want you to say yes. James and John are like, hey, Jesus, we want you to do whatever we tell you to right now. This is Jesus, okay? I can see it right now. It would be like my boys going, hey, Dad, we're going to tell you something to do, and we want you to do it no matter what it is. Yeah, I'm not jumping into that trick. That one's just set up for peril and calamity, or probably me getting cut or hurt or handing out money, most likely. But to James and John say, Jesus, we want you, when you go to glory, we want you to promise that one of us will sit at your left and one of us will sit at your right. And Jesus says, no, you don't understand the cup that I will drink to get there. You don't understand what I will have to do to come into that glory. You have no clue. And then it tells us that the other disciples then became indignant with them. They were like, seriously, bro? Seriously, James, John, what are you thinking? I can see it right now. They're like, y'all are stupid. Do you really think he's going to do that? Man, it's the perfect picture of our humanity, saying those guys, even disciples, are going, I want to be glorified. I want to have power. I want to have the things. It's all about me. The rich young ruler was all about me. And the natural working order of our lives is that when we focus on the things of this world, we get the things of this world. Everything around you drives you towards your own selfish wants and desires. And I'm going to tell you this right now, is this is not a lesson that I preach to you because I figured it out. I preach to you because I am right there in the midst of that. I like things. I like to buy little trinkets. I like stuff. So I have to overcome that in my own life. But everything around you, everything around us drives us towards our own selfish wants and desires. But our believers, we as believers must be intentional about doing things differently. Even our advertising is tapping into the innermost selfishness. Our advertising, Barclay says, you deserve it. You deserve this. Even McDonald's, the Mega Mac. You deserve a Mega Mac. There's advertising all over. You should get this. You have earned this. You need this. You want this. And it should be yours. And we look at that and go, yeah, I deserve that car that I can't afford. I deserve that Big Mac that I can't afford. That's really my life. But we get so wrapped up into what we deserve and what we want and what we should get that we forget that our focus right in that moment is right here. It is not here. And so Norwegian Settlers Church, as you walk through the forest of life in this church, take your focus off the knots and the crooked trees and the tree that has a dying limb on it. And focus on the bigger aspect of it. You are doing mighty mighty, amazing works. And you keep doing them. Just tapping in our almost desire. Romans 8, 6 through 8 reminds us this way. The mind governed by flesh is death, but the mind governed by the Spirit is life and peace. The mind governed by the flesh is hostile to God. It does not submit to God's law, nor can it do so. Those who are in the realm of the flesh cannot please God. When we get stuck in that realm, man, we get stuck there, don't we? We get stuck in the ways of the flesh, and we have a horrible, horrible time coming out of it. Colossians 3, verses 1 calls you and I to this. Since you have been raised with Christ, set your hearts on the things above where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on the things above, not on earthly things. Philippians 4:8 tells us, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is humble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received and heard from me or sisters or seen in me, put into practice. The clue in here, the clue is that they calls you to put it into practice, to do, to be about. The heart of that is that you're being intentional about doing it. It means you have to go out of your way to seek that, to find that, to do that, to put that into practice. There's a difference between living by default and living by intentionality. Living by default is when you come home at the end of the day, you say hi to your wife, you sit down and you watch TV and you go to sleep. That's a default marriage. That's called being roommates. The default is that the money that you make, you blow through it on the first couple of things that you want, and you get 10 days from your paycheck, and you go, I don't know what's there. That's default living. Default living is, I'm going to drink as much as I possibly want to and hope nothing bad happens. That's default. Intentional living says, I'm going to align my life in the ways of Christ and live by that. And I'm going to do what it takes to live that way. The last thing when we start living that intentional life is that when we are being intentional, our focus shifts. We start looking for different things. And when we are being intentional about our focus, our peripheral changes. What do I mean by that? We're going to do a real quick eye test. We're going to finish up. I want everybody in here has a dominant eye. How many of you are hunters or shooters? You've shot guns and no? Okay, cool. I am, so we'll go from there. So we go shooting a lot. I'm from Texas. We all own guns. That's what we do. Sorry. It's just we're Americans. So everybody has a dominant eye, and you can see this when you look at a distance. And so you shoot your gun based on which one of your eyes is stronger. The crazy thing in science is that if you are left brain or right brain dominant, like you're creative or you're logical, you most likely have a dominant eye corresponding to that brain side. It's really weird. But we all have a dominant eye, one that overpowers the other. How many of you have glasses and you have one eye that's really strong and one eye that's really weak? Yeah, you've got a dominant eye whether you like it or not now. But we all have a test. Okay, here we go. I want everybody to look out the windows and find somewhere way off. Everybody turn around, everybody look at the windows. Everybody put your finger up for me like this. I need everybody in here. There you go. Everybody get your finger up. Everybody find a distance way off in the a point way off in the distance and point to it, okay? Leave your finger on it. Keep both your eyes open. Put your finger on that, okay, and leave it there. And then I want you to close one eye and the other. You see how it does that? See how it does that? One finger comes off of it, right? One finger comes off, one stays on. The one that stays on is your dominant eye. The one that goes off. Everybody keep looking at your point. And put your dominant eye on there. Close the other one. Okay, move on. All right. Oh, my slide's still up. Move it. Get it off. How many of you, while you were looking at that, saw my two greatest fears in this world? Why? Because you were looking at something else. You were doing another thing. You didn't see what my two greatest fears are, and they may be yours, snakes and clowns. Kyle's two greatest fears in life. Let's go to that next verse real fast, the next slide. When you set your focus on the things of God, those things that you fear, those things that you are scared of, those things that eat at you so much, they become little specks in your peripheral. And when you focus on Christ and the ways of Christ, those things that you are so fearful of go from being this massive part of your life to little bitty things in your peripheral. And you stop focusing on them. So then, brethren, we are under obligation not to the flesh to live according to the flesh. For if you are living according to the flesh, you must die. But by the way of the Spirit, you are putting to death the deeds of the body, and you will live. So put away those desires of your own selfishness. Turn your focus on the ways of Christ. And those things that have eaten you alive so much will then become just specks in the rear view of your life. It's going to take you making some very intentional decisions about selfishness that you need to give up. But man, does it change everything. Norwegians, y'all have such a blessing here. You have such a blessing in this church. Keep your eyes focused on the things of God. Personally, keep your hearts intentional about seeking after His ways. And the things of this earth will grow strangely dim in the light of His glory and grace. Father God, thank you. Father God, thank you that you have given us a focus to shoot for. God, you have given us direction to aim towards, and you have given us a great vision in your Son. As we move forward today, as we walk out of this building, I pray that you would shift our focus on you more. We would find ways of being intentional that we haven't had before. Or you would change our hearts, our minds, and our souls to shift our focus onto that which is for your glory and not our own. We love you. We praise you, and we thank you. We pray all these things in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.